What's up, San Diego, and a happy Wednesday to everybody out there in America's finest city. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, live and local each and every day from 10 to 2 on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We are here live at the Loft. We're going to be here for the next couple of hours, leading you in to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt as we get you ready for Padres baseball. Already got a lineup out there this morning for the Padres as they get ready to take on the Pittsburgh Pirates and hopefully try to salvage this series against Pittsburgh. And a win today would solidify a winning homestand, which is what you want to cash in on if you have a 500 road trip, which the Padres just had. A 500 road trip after not taking care of business against the New York Mets. And they have another pretty tough road trip coming up. They're going to take on Tampa Bay, the best team in the American League, followed by a trip to Cincinnati, which always has some crazy things happen at the Great American Bandbox up there in Cincinnati. So that will be near the end of August here, and then we get ready for September baseball. And I think last night goes along the same lines as Monday of just a missed opportunity to really solidify yourself in the playoffs, really distance yourself from Arizona. And at this point, you would have the 5 spot in the standings right now if you were able to win the last 2 games, because Philly has been cooled off by Seattle. So I chalk this series up already as a missed opportunity. If San Diego wants to win, actually right now, if they want to just tie the season series with Pittsburgh, they're going to have to win today after the last couple of days and a couple of frustrating losses. I mean, you're going to get some of these losses still. I mean, when the Padres won on Sunday, I don't think anybody thought that the Padres were going to, never lose again. You knew they were going to lose again at some point. You're just hoping that they can snap some of these losing streaks, very quickly and get back to their winning ways. Now, today will be Randy Vasquez to try to get that job done for the Padres, and so we'll see what Randy's got in store. But he has done a phenomenal job at his last handful of outings. We'll see if he can keep it up against a Pittsburgh Pirates team that came in as one of the better offenses in baseball. But I think the Padres pitching has really stymied the Pirates so far this series. The starting pitching has been great for the Padres. I mean, Robbie Ray did well enough to win on Monday. Yesterday, Michael King, outstanding performances. He dueled with Paul Skeens. I mean, he went, a shutout performance yesterday. He goes with 7 shutty yesterday. I mean, this is exactly where you want your starting pitching to be. The unfortunate thing is the offense has really gone in a different direction. I mean, they haven't necessarily been, firing on all cylinders these last couple of games. I know Manny's been dealing with some stuff, and he looks like he's been dealing with some stuff. And, he's in the lineup again today, and he mentioned the paper. I mean, he said, I get paid to play, and he wants to play. And you want to see him in the lineup. But, right now you got to be able to, you got to give this guy, I think, some rest every once in a while. And I know the Padres have been trying to do it. It's kind of hard to tell Manny that he needs a day off. But, he's going to be out there playing again today. We'll get the lineup there in later on in the show. But the offense to me has been the biggest talking point with this team the last couple of days. Now, let's talk about the Mason Miller situation. Obviously, yesterday, in hindsight, it seems like why do you go with Mason Miller there in the 9th inning? And to me, we talked about it yesterday. I don't think it was necessarily this. I don't mind putting the closer in the top of the 9th inning in a tie game. When you're the home team and try to walk it off in the 9th. Not opposed to that. I know a lot of people don't like using your closer when it's not a save situation. If that guy is your best guy in the bullpen, it shouldn't really matter what the situation is. He should be able to get the job done. But for me last night, I think the bigger question is I thought it was surprising that he was available. I mean, that was his 4th outing in the last 5 games. He was coming off of pitching 30 pitches the night before, as we saw that on Monday. I was shocked that they decided to use him there in a tie game in the 9th. But that's not the reason why they lost. The reason why they lost is they couldn't get anything going offensively, and they couldn't execute offensively and get the runs when they needed to. I mean, Paul Skeens looked a lot more like the Paul Skeens that you saw, last year than necessarily in the last couple of outings that he has had. The velocity was way up. He was not as wild as he was, in previous outings. I mean, this is a guy that looked a lot better than the Paul Skeens we've seen the last couple of weeks. But, that was the first home run that Mason Miller allowed in his last 384 days, which ended an absurd run of 74 appearances and 76 and 2/3 innings without allowing one. The Pirates' O'Neal Cruz hit a 112-mile-an-hour home run on a, elite power versus elite power matchup. But the interesting thing was, Miller went with a changeup in that, a 98-mile-an-hour changeup. But he went with a changeup, only the 22nd changeup he threw on the season. And, Mason Miller admitted afterward that he thought the changeup was the right pitch before the at-bat, but afterwards calling it a stupid pitch because of location. Cruz actually is not very good against changeups. He's just not a good hitter against changeups. But I would imagine most changeups he faces are not higher velo than most people's fastballs. I mean, a 98-mile-an-hour changeup is not really a changeup per se. But the biggest thing was the location more so than the pitch selection itself. Obviously, a mistake pitch by Mason Miller. He's going to have those. He's going to make those mistake pitches. You just hope that, when those happen in terms of location, it's not a tie ball game in the ninth inning, right? So that was the unfortunate part. The other thing, too, that I heard on the broadcast when I was driving, home from football practice yesterday, I heard Jesse say it to Scan about the changeups. Mason Miller usually uses the changeup when he's got a little bit more of like a lead. He hasn't really used it in tight games, hasn't really used it in tied games either. So little surprising that they used the changeup there. But, I was curious why they decided to go with Miller, not because of the tied in the ninth inning situation, Frank, but more so from the sense of he had pitched 3 of the last 4 days, now 4 of the last 5. He had come off 30 pitches in his last outing. I thought for sure he might be down going into yesterday, but you went with Morahone and Miller, and unfortunately you've done that twice now, and you have 2 losses with it.
Yeah, he has thrown a lot of innings and has thrown a lot of pitches here recently, and to go with Morahone as well, that just goes to show how tight the bullpen was after using all but 2 of the guys that you had at the bullpen on Monday night. Again, I don't have a problem with using Mason Miller in the ninth inning as a standpoint. However, the result is the result. Sorry, the result of that is the result. However, last night really falls more on the offense and just not being able to do anything. And that's something we've seen all series now so far, is the offense has not been able to get anything going whatsoever against this Pittsburgh Pirates pitching staff. Now, Braxton Ashcraft is good. We, of course, know what Paul Skeens is. And Bubba Chandler's good. I mean, that's not really to say, oh, we've come up against good pitching. That's not really an excuse because of how good this offense has been since the All-Star break. So while you can nitpick when you use these guys in the bullpen, which, I mean, if you want to say Mason Miller should not have pitched last night, I'm 100% for that. He has thrown a lot over these last 5 days, but still, it really, for me, goes back to the offense not being able to perform last night.
Yeah, that's the real problem of yesterday. It's not necessarily what happened with the bullpen. The bullpen is fine. I mean, you use them a lot. The pitching staff has been carrying this team the last couple of days, and unfortunately the offense hasn't been able to get that big hit. They haven't been able to, put together the good at-bats or the team at-bats that we saw over the weekend. And, really on this big winning streak that the Padres have been on. But that was the real reason that they lost yesterday, and that's the real reason why they lost the last couple of days. I mean, you lose a game 1-0. I mean, even if you didn't use Mason Miller and you use like a Bradley Rodriguez or even a Wandy Peralta and he put up a 0 there, you still got to score a run. I mean, they didn't score a single run last night, and they lost that game 1-0. You got Michael King to give you 7 scoreless. Padres has scored just 2 runs now over the last 21 innings. They went 0 for 7 with the runners in scoring position Tuesday after going 1 for 13 on Monday. That's 1 for 20 with runners in scoring position across the first 2 games of this series. And the Padres had plenty of opportunities and simply couldn't cash them in. They have now scored fewer than 3 runs in consecutive games for the first time since June 28th and 29th. And they're facing excellent pitching. I mean, Frank mentioned that. Braxton Ashcraft, Paul Skeens, obviously, those are a couple of guys that are going to test you, and it's difficult to score runs on those players. But here's the thing. Those are the type of pitchers you're going to see in the postseason. It's not going to be specifically Paul Skeens and Braxton Ashcraft and Bubba Chandler, but it's going to be guys that are that caliber pitcher. Those are the pitchers that are on playoff caliber teams, and you're going to have to find ways to score runs against these guys because this is going to be the key to success in the postseason. We've seen this Padres team in the postseason have good pitching. We've seen them have an excellent bullpen. We've seen them get great starts out of starting pitching. And the thing that has let them down the last 2 years, 2024 and in 2025, was the offense. And I don't think it's time to just redirect where the direction of this team is going after 2 games. I don't think the offense is back to being a problem and a huge concern and something we got to freak out about. But I will say it is something that needs to be nipped in the bud very quickly if you want to be able to make a run in the postseason, because we've seen this team have good pitching over the course of their history enter the postseason, and it is the hitting that hasn't come through when they needed it.
Yeah, and if you look at you're 3-2 this homestand after sweeping Minnesota and now losing these 2. You're right where you're supposed to be if you look at the games and how they played out. You're right where you're supposed to be in this homestand. You won a game you probably shouldn't have won on Saturday, and you lost a game on Monday that you had the opportunity to steal, and you didn't. Right. So right now, instead of being 2-1 and 1-1 going into the series, you're 3-0 and 0-2. So you have the results from this homestand that you should have, just in a different way. And as far as this offense is concerned,
if they win the day, they would, go 4-2. It'd be like winning both series.
Yes, correct. So with this offense, though, it's so interesting to see everything that they did right against Minnesota. Now, granted, Minnesota does not have the starting pitching that Pittsburgh has. It's amazing to see how this entire lineup from top to bottom is completely shut down after such a successful weekend against Minnesota.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this is coming off of, Michael King being just absolutely outstanding yesterday, and it was good to see him back to that position. But the offense needs to get going. And, I mean, if you want to phrase it this way, if you're playing a 3-game playoff series right now in the wild card, you're going home. And you would have lost the game in extra innings by 1 run, and you would have lost 1-0, and it would have been just a little bit too short, and all of a sudden now your season is over. So this is something that obviously needs to be fixed very quickly. Need to be able to get back going on the offense. And again, Jackson Merrill, man, it's just at the plate has just looked back to what he was a couple of weeks ago. I mean, he's just been so up and down. I know they're trying to challenge him right now. Major league teams are. They're throwing a lot of pitches out of the zone. He continues to chase. I thought he was a little bit more patient last night than he was on Monday night, but still, he's another big cog to this piece. Manny Machado also struggling right now at the plate. If you look at those 2 in particular, those are the big reasons why this team started winning and getting on this winning streak a couple of weeks ago. But right now, Manny's hitting 194 of his last 10 games, 633 OPS during that stretch, just 1 for 17 with runners in scoring position over his recent opportunities. And he had been much better over the preceding, 57 games before that. As for Jackson Merrill, as we talked about, he hit 376 with 1130 OPS over 24 games between July 19th and August 12th, right? Guy's on a tear. Jackson Merrill's back. This looks like Rookie of the Year Jackson Merrill. He's finally figured it out. We're back to seeing what Jackson Merrill brings to this team. And since August 12th, he's hitting 119 with a 548 OPS over the last 11 games. Chase rate has jumped from 37% to 45%. He has swung at 13 of 20 pitches outside the zone during this stretch, and he's 0 for 9 with 4 strikeouts over the last 2 games. I mean, these 2 players in particular have not been hitting the ball very well. and you're starting to see the results in the wins and loss columns right now for this Padres team, because these are guys that are going to be relied upon to help carry this offense come October, and they're going in the wrong direction or having a little bit of a slump, which is going to happen. It's going to give you these kind of results.
Yeah, and I was thinking back because I just looked at the scorebook from the last time we were here. It was 2 weeks ago against the Brewers. I thought if my memory was right, I thought that Manny was a DH that day. He wasn't. He played third base. I honestly, off the top of my head, cannot remember the last time Manny Machado's gotten a day off. And we saw this last year, like as he started to go through the season, started in September, started to slow down a little bit. And I think we are kind of seeing that a little bit. As far as Jackson Merrill's concerned, I don't know what to say at this point. I mean, he has been so up and down. When he's hot, he is hot. And when he is not, he is not. That is really the biggest thing with Jackson Merrill right now, is you don't need to play at the rate that he was coming out of the All-Star break all the time. You don't need to do that. You just need to find some level of consistency that's between what you did coming out of the All-Star break and what you're doing right now. And with him, it has been all or nothing this year for him.
Yeah, and again, like the double plays for Manny have been just way too high. I mean, it's gotten to a point now where there's a lot of times I think Manny comes up to the plate and there's a runner on first. I'm like, this might be a double play. Very tough to see with the offense. But, the pitching staff's looked really good. I think that's encouraging, especially with where the starting staff has been. We're going to talk about what Nick Pivetta did in Lake Elsinore in a little bit on the show. We're just getting started today. We'll talk more about Michael King's outing. We'll talk about the overall look at this team and a look at the standings and where everything's playing out as well. We're just getting started here. We're live at the Loft at the Western Metal Supply Company building, getting you ready for the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt and Padres baseball. Look at day game today on a Wednesday on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Broadcasting live from our Wednesday Bill House studios, our Bill House studios from the Loft. We know how. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show. Static is our sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We might have one guest today. He might join us in person, not on the SDCCU fan hotline. He'll be in the SDCCU guest chair. It's not Big Bang Banking. It's better. That might be Sam Levitt later on at the end of the show. But we're up here getting ready for Padres baseball. Padres trying to salvage this series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. And we have had a lineup, and Adam wants to get to the lineup. Here's the lineup today. you know, Adam, that costs us 50 cents every time you use it to Matt Scraby's. 75 cents now.
It's $1.15.
We're going a quarter every time, or 50 cents.
It's
50 cents.
Yeah,
we're gonna go $1.50.
Yeah, I thought it was 50 cents every time.
50 cents every time. Add it to Scraby's paycheck for the day. All right, let's get to today's lineup, Frank.
Starting 9 for the Padres: Fernando Tatis in right, Cronenworth at second, batting second, Manny at third, playing third, France at first, Jackson Merrill in center, Luis Rengifo in left, Gavin Sheets DHing, Xander Bogaerts at short, Freddie Fermin behind the plate, and Randy Vasquez starting. So I believe more or less the same lineup we saw yesterday.
I want to see Randy Vasquez build off of his last outing. He's been great in his last couple of starts. It looks like he has gotten back to what he was last year at this time, but also at the beginning of the season. That could help the Padres out in a huge way come playoff time. But as you and I discussed, Frank, it's been more about the offense the last couple of days, and it's been about the pitching. The pitching has been
fantastic.
Borderline elite, if you will. I mean, I know you give up, the home run, but Mason Miller gives up an uncharacteristic home run, pitching 4 the last 5 days. I disagree with pitching Morejon there. I mean, he went 2 innings the day before. I know he only threw 6 pitches in the inning yesterday, but I mean, when they decided to pull Morejon for the 9th, I thought, we were going to see somebody other than Mason Miller go out there. But other than maybe that decision, I mean, the pitching staff has held up their end of the bargain in these last couple of games, and they've been great the last couple of outings dating back to obviously the series against the Twins. It's been the offense that really needs to get it into gear. That offense today is the lineup mentioned by Frank. That really needs to get going. That's the offense that's going to, climb you back into a position of, not having the Diamondbacks right there behind you on your ass. I mean, if you look at the standings right now, the thing that's the biggest, the thing that makes this thing the most, kind of upsetting, it is the fact that a couple of things. One, you could have distanced yourself from the Diamondbacks a little bit. 2, you would have caught the Phillies if you had taken care of business the last 2 days because the Phillies had lost. And, I mean, eventually you knew they were going to cool off. It could have been some good timing, for that. But the Diamondbacks coming back yesterday against the Chicago Cubs, stings even more because now they're only a game back, and you could have been in a position to be 3 games in front of them if you took care of business the last 2 days.
2. They beat the Cubs last night. So, no, you're right. Yeah,
no,
3.
They would have been 3 after the weekend.
Then you lose less. Yes. Phillies also lost last night to Seattle 4-1.
Yeah,
so that's
as mentioned, they would have been if they would have taken care of his last 2 days, you would have been tied with Philly. You had a 3-game lead on the Arizona Diamondbacks, which is a lot different. And on top of that, you would have made half of these teams down below you, because Miami's lost 2 in a row, right? So they stay at 4. They would have been 6 games back. St. Louis has lost 4 straight games. They would have been 7 games back.
They got destroyed by Baltimore last night.
The Pirates would have been 8.5 back, and the Reds would have been 11 games back. You would have potentially just ended the wild card race if you won the last 2 days.
Yeah, but again, I mean, that again comes down to this offense. The pitching staff is done. It's starting to feel like April and May again. These last 2 days, where it's the pitching staff that's carrying this team, and the offense is absolutely nowhere to be found. Now, granted, it's just a week. It's just 2 days. they could go out there of 10 runs on 15 hits today, and everything's going to feel fine again. But these last couple days has been a return back to April and May, where it's been the starting pitching has been doing all the heavy lifting, and now the lineup is out. I cannot remember a time this season. You could make an argument for the last week or so. I cannot remember a time this weekend when the pitching has been at its most elite at the same time the offense has been at its most elite.
The other thing too is I look at these standings of like if the no other result changes and the Padres just win the last 2 days on winnable games, right? Like it's not like
100%
winnable games. You would have been like 4 games behind Chicago because they lost yesterday too, because they lost to Arizona. I mean, you would have been right in the thick of things to potentially get the 4 seed again, and be hosting. I mean, this is the time where when you have to go, if you make the playoffs, which I think they will, but this is where you look back of like times they could have taken advantage of the situation. And when you're dealing with having to play in Chicago or having to maybe play in Philly or having to play in Atlanta or wherever you might have to play on the road in a 3-game series, best of 3-game series in the playoffs, this is where you go back to like missing opportunities to really cash in to try to get a home playoff game. And I think that hurt the Padres last year in the postseason. I think having a best of 3 here at Petco Park with you fans out there, with the support that this community has, with how difficult it is to deal with the crowd here at Petco Park, I think that's a big advantage. Now, I do think with ABS, things have changed a little bit in terms of home advantage. I think that the zones have gotten a lot better. I don't think you get as much play. And umpires never admit this, but you see it with umpires, you see it with basketball officials. That's where you get the home field advantage, right? Is with some of the calls kind of going their way. I think that gets eliminated a little bit with ABS, but you want to be able to play playoff games at home as much as you can. And these last couple of days, this is what you would have to look back to when you're missing out by 1 or 2 games, in hosting a playoff series.
Yeah, and again, though, you look at the series as a whole, the homestand as a whole, and you are where you're supposed to be as far as your wins and losses on the homestand. It's just how you got there is a little bit different. But every team has those games where if we would have won that game in Kansas City, or if we would have won that game in LA, there were a couple of games against LA this year the Padres should have won. Those could be the difference between playing, and every team has those games. And unfortunately for the Padres, it's more than not they're on the wrong side of it. But I mean, getting into the playoffs is what you have to do. Anything can happen once you're in. And yes, you do want to put yourself in the best position to succeed. But again, anything can happen, but you have to be at the dance first for it to happen.
I think at this point, with the way this team is played now and how they're different than they were about a couple of weeks ago and really just before I think the expectation needs to be, let's not try to just hang on to a playoff spot. It's time to just start moving up the leaderboard here to make things better for us.
That's fair.
And I think that's where you're at. With this team. And I think there's something to be said about momentum in the standings too, of playing good baseball, because, you don't want to give other teams that are watching the scoreboard right now a little bit of life. I mean, again, go back to what I just said about what the standings would look like right now. If the Padres had won the last 2 games and all the other results are the same, they would be the 5 seed. They'd be trailing Chicago by 4 games. They would have a 3-game lead on Arizona. They would have a 6-game lead on Miami, a 7-game lead on St. Louis, an 8.5-game lead on Pittsburgh, and all of a sudden those teams are starting to look at this is an insurmountable lead that we can't catch up with.
Wouldn't they be the 6th seed because they lost the tiebreaker to the Phillies, so the Phillies would?
Yeah, but I mean that's you're splitting hairs here. Well, the point is you'd be tied for the 5 spot.
Yes.
With a month and 2 weeks left, where you finally have caught the Phillies, and now you can actually start looking about, getting to that next spot, only being 4 games behind Chicago. I mean, it's a drastically different thing. Now Arizona's got life. They're a game back. Miami's still thinking 4 games out, we could still make a run at this thing. You're leaving the door open for teams to potentially take your spot because you're not taking advantage of the opportunity. So when we come back, we're going to take a little bit of a look at what Nick Pivetta did yesterday in Lake Elsinore, see if, maybe he could come back and help this team out at some point in time. We'll let you know what the results were when we come back. We will also be talking more Padres baseball. We got some interesting things that have happened nationally, too, in other sports that we want to get to very briefly in the next hour. But we're here at the Loft. We're going to be here until about noontime before the Eco Water SoCal Padres pregame show starts with Sam Levitt. So just getting started on a Wednesday. San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Live from our Bill House studio, we know how. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show. Static #1 Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. Talking about opening week. It is opening week for the Dons this week. We have a game tomorrow for JV. I get the double duty again with JV and varsity football. But I was telling Frank, it's been tough to practice, obviously, because of the heat. We have those like heat bulb things, remember the wet bulb
the heat indexers
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If it's they have all these different zones, and all you high school coaches out there for all the different sports understands. Like, black zone means you are not doing anything outside. They have like the red zone, the orange zone. The red zone is you can practice, but you can't wear any equipment of any kind. So it's like just T-shirt and shorts and whatever. And then orange is like you can't wear, full pads or whatever. Like there's all this stuff for football. I don't know why they don't do it in the gym. It's actually hotter in the gyms that don't have air conditioning than it is outside. And it's like they want you to go inside where it's actually hotter than it is outside. But it's been tough to practice, and you're trying to navigate, field usage with the other sports. And they're practicing, everybody's practicing at night, early in the morning. So we got our first JV game tomorrow. It's supposed to play at 7, but the freshmen are supposed to play at 4. It's a doubleheader. It's supposed to be hotter tomorrow. How are they going to get a game in at 4 o'clock? I mean, I would not be surprised if my JV game tomorrow kicks off like 9 o'clock at night on Thursday. But it is our opening week. Opening week for high school football was last week. And we got college football coming up over the weekend in week 0. A couple of things on that. Opening week on 97 through the Fan is presented by Hands-Free Skechers Slip-Ins. Just step in and go. Also, we will have a college football game broadcasted on 97.3 The Fan on Saturday morning. It's the TCU Horned Frogs. It's the North Carolina Tar Heels. 9 in the morning from Ireland will be on our airwaves on 97.3 The Fan, leading you into an earlier Padre baseball, because the Padres, after today, are heading over to Tampa to take on the Tampa Bay Rays. So a couple of notes on that. I do want to get to this before we talk about the situation with Nick Pivetta in the minor leagues. Did you see that ESPN is getting rid of their bottom ticker for college football games?
I did, but I couldn't read about it.
Yeah, the front office sports is like, you have to pay to read this article about ESPN not having a bottom ticker.
Stupid.
I maybe I can find an article that was free on that. But it's apparently they're going to get rid of the bottom line ticker for college football games, specifically to just kind of enhance the deal. So here's what it is. ESPN is set to remove its bottom line ticker during college football games this season in a move to free up more on-screen real estate. The move will bring all of ESPN's college football broadcasts in line with its major events like the college football playoff, NBA postseason games, which already do not feature the on-screen ticker. This season, all college football games on ABC, ESPN, ESPN2, SEC Network, ACC Network, ESPNU, and ESPN News will go without the bottom line. Apparently, people have been calling for this change for quite some time. Obviously, as the ticker is unneeded because you have a smartphone. Are you going to miss the ticker at the bottom of college football games?
To free up more on-screen real estate?
Yeah, how much is it? Like just this? I mean, it's not as big as our little graphic right there. Hey, man, you can't see the bricks.
Wow.
You can't see the bricks down there.
Unreal, man.
Hey, you don't want to see the I'm not going to say it. I was going to say it, but people might think it's weird. I was like, yeah, see the guy's feet. I see the whole play. Maybe Too bad the score bug's like this big.
It's so stupid. It's so dumb.
I don't mind the ticker being on there. I also
You don't
mind if
notice
it's
it half
not
the
there.
time.
I'm only looking at it when I'm like looking to see what the other games are if I don't want to be on my phone. But like is there any reason for a ticker now for scores, live scores on the bottom of screens?
No, there's no reason.
Because everybody's got the information on their phone now?
There's no real reason for it, but also it's one of those things that you don't really notice until it's not there. So like the only time you notice it is when you're looking for something directly.
The Padres don't have one, right? I haven't noticed.
No,
they don't have one, right? But MLB Network does, or do they not? Do they do it for their game? They only do it when they have their shows going on.
Again, I don't
even
know.
notice.
Exactly.
You don't even notice. You know what they're going to replace it with? Advertising for Pat McAfee show. That's probably what they're going to. I was going to say, but
they do advertising on the bottom line on the ticker.
Right. So they're getting rid of that now.
But if you're freeing that space up for more advertising, you've removed advertising space.
They're freeing it up so you could see more of the game, whatever that means. Seriously, whatever that means. I mean, how much more of the game do you want to see?
You're missing so much of our broadcast right now.
The bottom
you
of
are
the
missing
screen.
so much of our broadcast right now.
Yeah.
My God, this is one of those stupid little things that no one complains about. That these places say, "Oh, everyone's been whining about this, so we're going to get rid of it." And like, did you come? No, I didn't. Maybe that guy. No, he didn't either. Okay.
I mean, at this point, like Fox doesn't do it, CBS doesn't do it, NBC doesn't do it. I mean, they don't really have the on-screen ticker. Fox Sports 1 kept it during games last season. The Big Ten Network did not. I mean, you don't even. Honestly, if we did a real or fake for tickers, I don't think anybody would get them right now because I don't remember the last time I was paying attention to like the bottom ticker.
You know what all of those companies also didn't do?
What?
Put out a press release about it. They just took it off and said, "Yeah, we're not doing this anymore." I don't need a press release to know that something is not going to be on my screen anymore. Like, why is that necessary?
Yes. Anyway, I guess it's about time. I mean, the bottom line is like not even like if you look, somebody posted like the Little League World Series had the bottom line off. You didn't even notice that it's not there.
Oh my God. I could see his elbow.
Yeah, like it's just a little bit extra of the screen. Does it really matter? I mean, the score alerts, the funny thing was though, is like your phones update you now way faster than their ticker does. And so you see a score alert and you're like, oh, what just happened? You're like, oh, that happened like 15 minutes ago that, Ole Miss scored a touchdown. So dumb. Anyway, let's talk about Nick Pivetta's outing in Lake Elsinore yesterday. I'm surprised. I didn't think we were going to see another Nick Pivetta outing. I know they announced it, what was that, a couple of days ago that he was going to pitch today. I was kind of holding my breath on whether or not he was going to make it through, yesterday, but he got his work in on Tuesday afternoon. And here's what happened with Nick Pivetta. He made his first rehab appearance in roughly 3 weeks. He threw 47 pitches over 3 innings for Low A Lake Elsinore, 35 strikes, 4 strikeouts, only 1 walk. I mean, obviously those are the results that were encouraging. The results that were less encouraging, of course, are the runs and the hits. He gave up 3 runs, 4 hits, 2 home runs allowed. Had a rough first inning, but settled down for a clean second. Surrendered another homer in the third. Again, with these rehab assignments, I think the overall box score is not what you want to look at. You want to see how many strikes he's throwing. You want to see what the velocity is on his fastball, and you also want to see how he's feeling today. And I think, the manager, Craig Stammen does not meet with the media the day after a night game, so we won't hear probably from him today. And if we did, it would be in the post game. But I think today is going to be the bigger sign for Nick Pivetta, and if they schedule him for another rehab assignment. I mean, the overall like stats from the box score don't really mean anything to me. What means more is how many pitches he threw, how many innings did he get through, how many of them were strikes, and what does he feel like the next day after going, and I think that will determine what the Padres do with him, not only for his next rehab assignment, but like whether or not you think you could get him back on the major league club by the end of the season.
Yeah, so 3 innings I think is fine. I mean, that was more than what Joe got through in his first rehab outing. I think he got pulled in the third in his first rehab outing with Lake Elsinore. 4 strikeouts to 1 walk. That's not bad. And then to throw 47 pitches, 35 of them for strikes, that's also really, really good. So, and if he's feeling good today, I wouldn't be surprised if they felt as though they needed him, and if they felt as though the sprained ankle with Casey Mize is going to be a little bit more of a problem. Pivetta, I can see them rushing a little bit. There's no guarantee that he's going to be here next year. He's on a club option, so now the ball club has. Now you can realistically plan for him not being here because now you have the club option instead of the player option. Musgrove, is going to be here. He's under contract next year, so it makes more sense to take your time with him, depending upon Casey Mize and how he's feeling and how big of a problem that ankle is going to be. And with how good Nick Pivetta feels, I can see them rushing him back where they're not doing that with Joe Musgrove.
I don't think they're going to do that. I can see the scenario in which I can see the scenario that you're painting. I don't think they would do that. I really don't. And I don't. Because I know he might not be back here next year, but I just don't see the Padres really doing that. In terms of like Nick, but here's another interesting thing. Like, what happens if he does come back and he does look pretty good? And, it's a conversation of like, he doesn't need to like have like surgery for next year. Are you willing to bring him back for $14 million? But like in the back of your mind, something bad could happen next year. I mean, that's another interesting question for the Padres. I mean, I just assume that we would think that he's not going to be able to come back and pitch. I mean, what if he does come back and pitch now and he feels good and he has an off season where he gets back to what he was? Because he dealt with something like this in Boston before the Padres signed him, right? Like, are you willing to do that for a cheaper rate? I mean, I don't think he's going to be able to put up the numbers he did last season, maybe next year. But, I think that if he comes back and actually looks pretty good for a couple of innings and he feels good over the weekend, over the, and he starts to build up over the offseason, I think that makes that decision whether or not to pick up that option become actually more difficult for the Padres than initially anticipated.
I think another reason why you could rush him is because you're starting to run out of time in the minor league season. The minor league regular season ends about a month before the Major League Baseball season ends. It ends in the first week of September. So you're running out of time for him to get those live games in. And of course, you can send him to the complex league. You can have him work out in other ways. But, I mean, if you want to really start to get him in, he's got maybe 1 or 2 opportunities, not because of the rehab stint, but just because the season's about to end for the minor leagues.
Well, and here's the other thing about like just the pot, like what would you use him for, right? I mean, this is a team, the Padres are fighting for a postseason spot. September will be here within a week or so. And, Pivetta is going through a rehab progression while the Padres are simultaneously trying to determine their playoff rotation. And, if he's healthy, but he's only capable of throwing like 60 to 75 pitches, you can't really use him as a starter. I mean, he could be like kind of a multi-inning option
honestly,
in the middle of the game.
I mean, honestly, with the way starters are used in the postseason, you probably could use him because the first sign of trouble now, most starters are out.
I guess
you have a short leash. You have a short leash with every starter because it's so important. You can't get behind, especially in the wild card series.
But what is better to pitch? A Casey Mize, assuming he's healthy, whatever.
Oh, I'm not arguing with you there.
Like,
Casey Mize and Robbie Ray are better.
But if Nick Pivetta is not going to be better than your starters, like, what are you going to use him for? Can you use him out of the bullpen? Is he willing to go out of the bullpen? I'm sure at that point he is because he's in the postseason. Is that the best line of success? I mean, he's starting to become something that's like, yes, you want more pitching, but like, is Nick Pivetta potentially not at his best better than what some of your options currently are on this pitching staff for the postseason? I think that's an interesting question if he does come back.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the one thing that's really going to be sticking out here because Kyle Hart has done nothing to get him sent down. He has been fantastic. Bradley Rodriguez, I don't think he's going to go down again. He's already been down once this year for rest. I think he's solidified himself on this roster. Griffin Canning could be the only other option, but then, I mean, you're swapping him and Musgrove more likely.
Right.
For on the postseason roster, not on the regular season, because you can bring him up without any. You can bring Musgrove up without any consequence next Monday. I think next Monday is September 1st, right?
I think so. 31st.
Okay, so next Tuesday you can bring Musgrove up without any consequence because you get to add one pitcher and one fielder. So it is a very interesting question, and the guys in the bullpen have pitched well enough, most of them at least, have pitched well enough that they deserve to stay.
It'll be interesting to see what they do with Nick Pivetta. I'm more curious to see how he feels today after getting a rehab assignment in. We'll talk about that maybe later on this week. Got a lot to get to still here live at the Loft, getting ready for Padres baseball. San Diego's number one sports station, 97.3 The Fan, Braden Surprenant Show. dismissed from the team on August 18th or whatever it was for violation of team rules. And then that evening, the Fort Worth Star-Telegram reported that the dismissal came after an altercation in the locker room 5 days earlier. And in that article, a source close to Fields said the player felt targeted by teammates with insults and threats leading up to the altercation, that the TCU coaches made no attempts to de-escalate the brewing tension. Sonny Dykes declined to comment. He's the TCU head football coach. TCU officials disputed the source's account of what led to the attack in conversations with Star-Telegram, but they have declined to provide the university's version of events for publication. 3 days after the initial story, a person close to Fields, authorized to speak for Fields and his family, clarified the player's view of the lead up to the altercation and said that it wasn't because he was being bullied in the locker room. It was because of plays that happened, questionable plays that happened in practice. And then the person that was, assaulted in the locker room, the teammate.
What are you doing in practice to get yourself kicked off the team as far as questionable plays?
No, Justin Fields was upset with some of the plays that happened in practice. And so what he did was he went, according to Ezukama, the guy that got hospitalized, he got sucker punched by this guy in the locker room.
Ooh.
So that's what happened. So Justin Fields, who came over from Louisiana Tech as a transfer, had a mutual parting of ways with Louisiana Tech. He goes to TCU. He has a great fall camp, whatever. And then he assaults a teammate in the locker room.
Fun.
So TCU goes, all right, you got to go, because the teammate had to be hospitalized due to the fight that happened in the locker room. The Fort Worth Star-Telegram reported on the incident and then mentioned via unnamed source something that actually was inaccurate that then led to death threats of the victim in the hospital. And so TCU encounters like, all right, that's enough. So TCU has pulled the credentials for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram for their upcoming game at North Carolina. And that's where like the controversy is here of like, should they be allowed to pull the media credentials
100%
for
yes.
Steven Johnson, who I have read a lot of his stuff, obviously, as he is the beat writer for TCU Athletics. They pulled the credentials for Steven Johnson for all of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram employees for not just football, but for all athletics until they meet about the situation with this report. Fair or foul for them being allowed to do that?
That's fair. I think if it is an incident, if it's reporting that you get wrong, that leads
to death threats,
yes.
and also leads to the poor, unstable condition, or leads to maybe attacks on your student athlete.
100%. And I would expect if something similar happened here, I would expect the same thing in return. I would absolutely expect to have my credentials pulled. 100%.
Right. I mean, it's like, it's just it's an interesting dilemma here.
Again, it's not necessarily what they said. It's the result of the result of the report that came out, and that report was incorrect, which led to the victim getting all of those death threats, and his safety was questioned, and his well-being was put into question because of an incorrect report that came out.
Well, if you're going to have an anonymous source, that anonymous source better be right. Better not be somebody like the guy who just got, cut from the team or, banned from the team, whatever. It can't be that guy's agent trying to save the day. That can't be your only source. You got to be able to cross. I mean, that's some pretty, damning claims saying that, oh, he was bullied and all this stuff. And then to have the guy that got dismissed from the team, him and his family say that wasn't true, makes this even worse now for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram on this report. That same day that they had that report, the player that had been sent to the hospital in a now deleted Instagram post, quote, "How are you going to sucker punch me, bro? That's your teammate," he said in a video, saying, talking about his side of the story that obviously TCU probably, was like, hey, you shouldn't be posting this stuff. But That was crazy. I mean, there's some this game on Saturday. You got that situation with TCU football, and then with North Carolina. They don't even know who their DC is going to be.
The controversy bowl.
Yeah, that is. Seriously. And you know what? You can hear it right here on 97.3 The Fan on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. We got all the juice to that game coming up on Saturday. College football is back. We got college football back. Speaking of college football, we saw yesterday that the Big Ten and now the SEC have put in these rules where you can't have pro athletes or former pro athletes play in those conferences, right? And I'm in full agreement of that. Now, here's a different angle to this that I didn't think about. The Big Ten has said it, right? They've put in rules now. You can't play these players. Otherwise, we're going to, suspend your coach for half the season. You're going to pay fines. The SEC has now come up with their own rules. You can't use these players. Anybody that's, declared for the draft and didn't leave the draft, whatever. Like anybody that has been a professional football player, they can't go back and play pro football. The Big Ten said this. They've made a rule. The SEC's made a rule. The ACC and the Big 12 are working on making a rule. Since this is the Wild West, since this is, as Ben Higgins has mentioned on the morning show a couple of times, the best way to determine your eligibility now in college athletics is just have a good lawyer.
Yeah, and again, the rule is, for those who missed it, we did discuss it a little bit yesterday. The rule is basically you are allowed to play these guys. You're allowed to play these players, but the head coach is going to be suspended for 6 weeks, and you're going to get a major monetary penalty from the conference. So those are the rules that the Big Ten and SEC agreed to with all of the schools in their conference.
Here's a different look at this. I think, now this goes against everything that I've been saying. I think the group of 6 conferences should allow former pro players to play. No, I swear.
Gain some relevancy. Yeah, it makes sense.
Not relevancy. Try to even the playing field a little bit when it comes to athletes. I think the group of 6 conferences should go, we're going to allow former pro athletes to play for us. And I think they should even double down on it and just open it up with eligibility and do it with any type of rule that could potentially get shot down in court. Because the NCAA, Frank, has zero power. The conferences kind of have a little bit of power right now. If you're the Pac-12, if you're the Mountain West, if you're the Sun Belt, if you are the MAC, you should literally go out there and be like, anybody can play for our schools. Seriously. And it could be like, you can pay them whatever you want. They should just go against the NCAA with the rules. I'm sure the NCAA would try to throw in some, penalties of not making them eligible maybe for the college football playoff. But until they're able to pass something like that.
For the college football playoff anyway.
They might as well just open the doors of former pro athletes and just be like, hey, you want to, the court said that you're eligible. The NCAA can't knock you down on this. You're going to be eligible in the NCAA. We're going to make you eligible in the Pac-12. We're going to make you eligible here at San Diego State. It goes against everything I said yesterday, but you know what? If we're going to try to be competitive here and the Big Ten and the SEC is going to be the 2 conferences that kind of dictate everything that's going on, you're the Pac-12. It's like, hey, whoever that dude was from the Browns, you can't play at LSU now. Come play for us in the Pac-12. The NCAA said you can play. I mean, they didn't, but the court said that you're eligible to play college football. We'll allow you to play over here in the Pac-12.
Here's me and a couple of my friends were talking about this yesterday. And me and my friends, we met through racing online. And one of my friends equated it to, we were talking about the Lane Kiffin stuff, especially with him defending the use of rejected pro players back into college football. Your head coach is kind of like your crew chief. If that car is legal when it gets onto the racetrack, you don't have a good crew chief. Every single car on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is illegal in some way, shape, or form, but it passed NASCAR tech. That's kind of the head coach's job, is to find a way to try to find a way to give your team an advantage. And if this is the way, and yeah, as Adam said, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. If that car is legal, you are slow. That's just the way it is.
I'm just saying, like, I think that's a good counter for the group of 6 schools. Allow the pros to play, because I think that would even the playing field a little bit. I mean, make the rules work for you. I mean, you're already about to get cast out from college athletics because the Big Ten and the SEC have the whole chokehold on the thing. I mean, yeah, start bringing back some guys. You know, you're San Diego State. Go get a bunch of dudes that are, you know, guys that played at SEC schools, played at Big Ten schools. They got that one extra year of eligibility. They've gotten some NFL experience now. Bring them in. You know what? Make it a rule. Like, there is no reason for the group of 6 schools to have to play by the same rules as the Big Ten and the SEC. If they want to limit their roster, go ahead.
Because they don't play by their rules anyway.
That's right.
The power schools play by their own set of rules to begin with. So to sit there and say, "Oh, well, we got to play by their rules," no, you don't.
No, you don't.
That is actually that is ingenious.
I think they should do it.
That
I
is
honestly
a smart idea.
I think they should do that.
Absolutely.
I think that is exactly what college sports should do for some of these non-power schools. I mean, if you're going to make that move, make the move. Now, I do think it's funny. Like,
you also, there is a monetary thing that comes with this, because MAC schools are not making the same amount as even ACC schools. So you are putting a lot of money into a player that may or may not be taken off of your roster in the middle of the season. Because the ruling comes down in the middle of the season, now all the players aren't eligible. Or another stay is granted to where they're not eligible in some way, shape, or form. So you are risking a lot of money, which you don't have compared to everybody else. If you're okay with taking that risk as a group of 6 school, go for it. You might as well. But if you're not okay with it, just know that you're kind of going to be in the same spot you've been in.
I'm just saying, dude, I think it's, I think it is a way to try to even the playing field a little bit. And I think you got to, the SEC and the Big Ten in their ways of kind of dictating how everything works. I mean, they infiltrated the whole protect college sports bill to make sure they still get what they want and they're still the powers to be. I don't want to hear from their high horse about what's best for college athletics, which just benefits them. I think this is a way to counter that. I think this is a way to even the playing field, and I think this is a way to try and make their side of things a little bit more relevant again. I mean, if you're going to play dirty like that, I mean, this is because the Big Ten and the SEC play dirty with money and TV contracts. This is the way to punch back if you are the Pac-12 and the Mountain West Conference and all of these others little conferences here. It's like, hey, we're going to let former players play. We're going to let some football players play a little bit.
If I'm Texas State, I'm going to the Houston Texans right now and saying, listen, they're not going to let you play in the big conferences. You are not good enough to play in the National Football League, seeing how you just got cut. You want to play in Canada, or do you want to play here and still make the money that you would have made in the NFL and probably more for an year and get a little bit more tape out there? So maybe you can get a training camp spot next year, because the NFL doesn't care.
Right. Absolutely.
They don't care as long as they're good. That's all that matters. They don't care about what goes on at the college level. Do you want to go to Canada and make a fraction of what we are offering you? Or do you want to make nothing and just wait for next year? Or do you want to come and make millions of dollars to play for Texas State?
I think it's a interesting topic of discussion, to say the least. I mean, at this point, you might as well just start trying to create the best rules you possibly can for your own conference to try to have the most success they possibly can. And the NCAA's got nothing they can do about it. I mean, what is stopping a conference from suing the NCAA about an eligible player and just taking the player side for some of that stuff? They're probably going to get they'll probably get the restraining order in terms of being eligible or ineligible for the postseason. I mean, if you got good enough lawyers, you could probably see your way to eliminate most rules in college sports, which goes to show just how dumb this is by them never establishing some of these rules in the first place.
I just wanted a game, man. I just wanted a football game. I just wanted a basketball game. I didn't want all this. I didn't think all this was going to happen. I just wanted to play college football 27. That's it. That's all I wanted.
It's interesting. Like now, my entire feed is that TCU banning the
four-star
Telegram.
So.
I know. So now it's everywhere. So all these journalists are so upset about everything that's happening, but none of them actually read the deal. I mean, what's the journalistic integrity there? Are you allowed to write an article about locker room gossip that is unverified, that you don't get verified by multiple sources, that has now affected a player that was in the hospital? And in terms of him getting death threats, is that okay because it is your, quote, journalistic duty to do that? Here's my thing on journalism, okay? As somebody that went to school and had to learn about all this stuff, I find it funny when journalists pick and choose when journalism is important and journalism integrity is important.
100%.
I find it funny.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, as I see it, I don't see a lot of journalistic integrity by a lot of journalists out there that write nonsense all the time. And now this might come across as like, maybe being a little biased towards the school, but they don't have to give you credentials to cover a sport.
And that's everything. The Padres don't have to give us credentials.
I saw the same thing. It would be nice though if they did. It's great. We
100%. We love you guys for it, for sure.
But here's the thing too.
Doing this.
I laugh my ass off listening to, and LA is the worst. I laugh my ass off listening to these so-called high school sport journalists in LA complain all the time about everything that they're covering and the work environment stuff. So right now in the southern section, high schools are now credentialing to be allowed to be on the field, and people that are covering the sport that have CIF credentials are upset that they have to get new ones for field access to the high school. And it's just like, the high school doesn't have to allow you on the field during the game.
They don't have to allow you there, period.
The pass says that they are allowed to cover all CIF sanctioned events, which are the high schools, whatever. And it says they can be on the field to conduct interviews. That does not say that you could be on the field during the entire game. Then they're trying to eliminate. Right now, the sidelines are crazy in high school sports, and so they're trying to eliminate some of that. I find it funny when journalists get on their high horse about how important they are sometimes in situations that they don't read up on first. I mean, I get the freedom of press. I get a lot of these things, but if you are going to write something that impacts a school and they don't like it to a sense of because it was reported inaccurately, that school then has the right to allow or disallow you to cover their events.
And like Augie said, we'll do this quickly because we got to get to break. Journalists basically don't exist anymore. It's all clickbait to get marketing money, right, which is 100% correct. I'll do you one better. It died earlier than that when it became about being first,
yes, instead
of being right.
So you have, in this situation, a journalist that has covered a team trying to get the first one out there to determine what happened in this locker room incident that led to Justin Fields being banned from the team for team rules, and trying to be the first one out there, to then having his source not be accurate to the point where the player that is actually getting kicked off the team saying, oh, that's inaccurate, I wasn't actually the victim in this particular sense. And now all of a sudden we have this huge deal of I can't believe TCU would do this, or, what's going on with the journalism here in the United States. I mean, stop trying to be first and get your information correct. That's why I love like these, our Padres beat writers. Sometimes they don't post or comment or write their article on Padre stuff first. You see a lot of national guys do it. They make sure their information's verified. I see that with Dennis Lynn. You see that with AJ Cassavell. You see that with Kevin Acee. You see it with a lot of our local guys, but sometimes it's better to not be first. When we come back, we're going to shift gears back to the Padres. We're talking Padres baseball, getting you ready for Padres and Pirates. We're going to get to a sports thread later on. Sammy Lev might join us. Still got a lot to get to on the Braden Surprenant Show. Standing Summer Sports Station 97 to the Fan.
The SDCSU fan hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking. It's better. We got college football back this weekend. It's part of opening week, if you will. We're going to get back to our baseball coverage here in just a second. Baseball coverage on 97.3. The Fan is presented by Xfinity. Score the most reliable Wi-Fi. One price, 5 years guaranteed. Xfinity. Imagine that. It's good to be here at the Loft, live at Petco Park. Getting ready for Padres and Pirates. Game 3 of a 3-game set. Here's the last thing on the on that journalism story is breaking up. I think a lot of people that didn't read the actual article or the coverage of this particular incident are upset that that TCU is revoking the credential for them reporting on the locker room incident, which is not the case. It is going with the incorrect source that had it very wrong, that ultimately led to death threats of one of their players that was in the hospital because he got beat up in the locker room, that led to the dismissal of Justin Fields. It's not covering that interaction. It is going with a source that was not verified for why it happened, and then the player who was kicked off the team for starting the fight also saying that source was wrong in the article. It's about that and the damages that it did to the victim of the incident is the reason why that the credentials are being revoked. But they said they are revoked until that they meet together to determine what they, to make sure they're on the same page. It's not like they're permanently banned. And this is the other thing, there's so much people that are trying to get things out the fastest without being right, but also just mass hysteria in terms of reacting to things without doing the research and looking into what actually happened.
Thank you, social media. Appreciate you. Love you. Doing a great job. I hate you so much. so much.
All right. Speaking of articles, and on this side, more so a benefit, the well-reported article, we knew about the Bus family being involved with this new Padres ownership in some capacity. So
we did.
They've been talking about that for a while.
You might have remembered. I didn't.
I even texted it to Adam because of the situation that we're going to talk about here of just how connected the Bus brothers are to not only the Padres but the city of San Diego. And Adam responded with didn't we know this for months? Where have you been? Have you not how have you just? I know you don't listen to me ever, but where have you been for the last 3 or 4 weeks? We knew there were going to be minority owners.
I forgot
part of this group. That was the rumor that was out there.
I forgot.
Okay,
I forgore.
You have the Bus brothers that are dealing with this. You have the other bus part of the Genie bus up in LA dealing with
too many buses.
Too many buses.
I need a red line, a green line, just two lines.
The Bus siblings throwing Genie under the bus. Shout out to Dexter for a bad joke. Anyway. All right, so Bus Sports Capital, the investment group founded by brothers Joey and Jesse Bus in the wake of their family's sale of the Los Angeles Lakers to Mark Walter last year, have reached a deal to acquire approximately 5% of the Padres. Sources familiar with the deal told The Athletic. The sources spoke under condition of anonymity because the transaction has not yet been publicly announced. But that being said, we talked about, obviously, Kwanzaa Jones and Jose E. Feliciano about buying the controlling shares of the team that happened last Friday officially. They were announced on Monday. But this is the interesting part about this that I didn't realize. But, here's a quote this is the first quote we've gotten from the Bus brothers about now being part of the Padres organization as being reported. We are honored to join Kwanzaa and Jose and have the opportunity to contribute to the future of a team that Jesse and I have loved since we were kids growing up in San Diego. That's news to me. I didn't know the Bus brothers grew up in San Diego. So Jesse and Joey Bus, as part of the Bus family, Dr. Bus and his wife actually moved to San Diego, while Jesse and Joey Bus were kids. So the older Bus kids grew up in LA, and the younger Bus kids are actually San Diegans. And so they have actually loved this Padres team through childhood. And so now it's a little bit more of a different angle here of
when I saw Jesse and Joey Buss buying into the Padres, I thought, okay, well, they sold their shares to the Lakers. They got some extra money now. They like being involved with sports. They grew up being involved with sports because of their dad owning the Lakers. They have been in front offices. They probably want to be back into sports. They're in Southern California. The Padres are right there. Hey, you know what? Let's see if we could jump in and be
Natural
part of this
fit.
ownership group. But I didn't realize, and this is me for, probably being ignorant of the situation. I did not realize the Buss brothers were San Diegans. My bad on that, because I usually know who all the San Diegans are, as I mention on my shows all the time. Oh, San Diegan. Oh, he went to this high school. He went to that high school, whatever. But that adds even more to this. I mean, you have now a local flair, and it's only 5%. And, of course, there's some of the Seidler family members are still owning a smaller portion, and there's a lot of minority owners of this group. But how about that for a local flair to this team? Joey and Jesse Buss have loved the Padres since kids growing up here in San Diego. They've been Padres fans. Dream come true for them to be minority owners, and now they're going to add some of their expertise in helping running a team to this ownership group. I think just from that positive light of this, this is even better for this ownership group.
And one thing that I always say is the smartest person in the room knows he's not the smartest person in the room. Jose Feliciano, while they do have history in knowing and owning sports franchises and all that stuff, the Buss family knows San Diego. They know this area. They know what's going to work here. They know what doesn't. And they've been, as they say, they've been lifelong fans of this team. So they know the history, they know the strife, and they know the pain that this fan base has gone through over the course of the team's lifetime. So to get that expertise, because that was one thing that especially Kwanzaa was very, very passionate about, was getting out into the community and learning what makes San Diego tick and how to help best bring that to the ballpark and how best to spread that out in the community. You now have somebody, you've brought someone in, or a pair of brothers in, that have been here, that know this city, that know this team, that can help spread a little bit of light to those in the organization that maybe don't.
And now there's other angles to this with this ownership group and representing the Padres that we've kind of briefly mentioned, but we'll mention it again when we come back. And with the Buss family now being a part of this, with Jesse and Joey Buss, obviously with Jose Feliciano and Kwanzaa Jones, there's another entry to this, and we'll talk about it when we come back and get to a sports thread as we finish up our show.
All right, guys, join us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bank Banking, it's better. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. Welcome back to the Loft, which is our Bill House studios for the day. We know how. This final segment for the Braden Surprenant show today. We're going to take you up to about 12 o'clock today, 12:05, if you will. Sam Levitt will come back in here and take over for the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. Get you ready for Padres and Pirates. So we got a lot of things to do here in this final segment. One, we're going to continue our story about the Bus brothers being part of this, reportedly being part of this ownership group, and so the significance of that. We were going to get to our sports thread, and we are also going to get you a preview of Padres and Pirates. And we also have some news from AJ Cassavell that we need to get to as well. But I do find this interesting, and, you know, and maybe there's something there, maybe there's not, but I do find it interesting now that you have, you know, Joey and Jesse Buss, two people that have, you know, with their ownership stake still in the Lakers that they're trying to sell, was, you know, obviously in business with Mark Walter, who owns the Dodgers. And obviously they got fired from their jobs with the Lakers after the Mark Walter purchase of the Los Angeles Lakers. And whether or not that was a Mark Walter decision or their sister's decision and Jeannie Buss, I can't remember off the top of my head, so don't quote me on that. But you have that situation brewing between the Buss brothers and Mark Walter. You have Jose Feliciano and Clear Lake Capital that own Chelsea FC, also with Mark Walter. It didn't sound like from reports that either entity, whether it be the Buss brothers or Jose Feliciano, Kwanzaa Jones, and the Clear Lake Capital side of things with Chelsea, it didn't sound like either of those entities really saw eye to eye with Mark Walter, who owns the Dodgers. And now both of them have joined together with no previous relationship, whether it be personal or business, have now come together to buy the Padres, who happen to be the biggest rival of the Mark Walter-owned Los Angeles Dodgers. Is there something there? Who knows? Is there something there? Yes or no? But I do find that to be intriguing when it comes to this Padres-Dodgers rivalry.
I just love it when a plan comes together. I don't know what that plan is yet, but
who knows?
And plan has come together, but it is very interesting. It's nice to see a local flair to this new ownership group when you thought it wasn't going to be much. So it's a very, very nice compliment to have the two Buss brothers along with Jose Feliciano and Kwanzaa Jones.
We had an update today. I saw it from our social media account. Sammy Lev had the video of it earlier this morning. And with that comes an update from AJ Cassavell. But as we were just getting on the air, Yu Darvish was out there in the outfield throwing, getting a little throwing in, and I guess he ended up throwing a bullpen. So here's the report from AJ Cassavell. A few months ago, no guarantee whether or not we'd see Yu Darvish on the bullpen mound at Petco Park again. But there he was early Wednesday morning, long before gates open, throwing a light bullpen session while flanked by about a dozen teammates and coaches. And talk about a sight for sore eyes. Shortly after he finished throwing, Darvish clarified this was his second full bullpen session as he continues his recovery from internal brace surgery on his right elbow last October. 40-year-old right-hander isn't ready to make any declarative statements about his future. He's living in the present, and in the present, Darvish got to throw off the mound Wednesday, so naturally, obviously, a big smile on his face afterward. He said, "I'm really happy with it." Doesn't mean Darvish is committed to a comeback, and it certainly doesn't mean there's any semblance of a timeline. According to this report, it just means that Darvish is moving forward with his rehab, which at least makes it possible he could come back on a big league mound maybe sometime next year.
Yeah, so that's very, very good. Good to hear, good to see. Nice to see you out here today and hoping for next year at some point. Maybe they kind of do the same thing they did with Joe this year, where you kind of like let it play itself out until the end of the season, if he even wants to come back at all. Because that was also a big topic of conversation as to whether or not he was even going to want to return after having the surgery and doing the rehab.
They got a quote from Craig Stammen from earlier. He says he looks like he can come back. We'll see if he wants to. Darvish has been on the restricted list since opening day, essentially an agreement he made with the Padres so he can go about
his recovery on his own terms while spending additional time away from the team and with his family. Players on the restricted list remain under contractual control of the team they play for, but are no longer mandated to receive compensation. So because he's on the restricted list, Darvish doesn't spend game days with the team, but now that his rehab is ramped up, he still comes to Petco Park somewhat regularly, according to this report from Casavell, long before first pitch, then leaves before the game begins. So, it's a way for him to still use the facilities, get his rehab done, try to, work on the comeback, if you will, just in case he wants to. Padres don't have to pay him in order to do that. And it's kind of nice to see Yu Darvish back there on the mound. I mean, I wouldn't right now think that he's going to be coming back at all this year. He still needs to decide if he wants to come back at all in general, but it's good to see that Yu's out there throwing again.
Yeah, absolutely. Fun to see Yu Darvish out here, and makes you think highly going into next season for sure.
I mean, have you ever seen a guy that's more of a team player or more of an organizational guy than Yu Darvish? Like in any professional sport, I don't think I've seen anybody do what Darvish does. Now, granted, Darvish has made a lot of money in the past. Okay, he's got endorsements in Japan. It's not like he is, it's not like he is scrounged for cash, right? I'm sure if he was, and if he was a player like that, maybe he is, and he's not on the restricted list. I think he has different circumstances, but still, I still appreciate what Yu Darvish has done for this organization. I love the fact that he does it for Peter Seidler and the organization that brought him in. I love the fact that he likes being here in San Diego, and he has, now raised his family here in San Diego. And I wish nothing but the best for Yu Darvish, whether that's with the Padres next year, without the Padres next year, whether he wants to come back, not come back, whatever the case may be. I mean, Yu Darvish, and he had a great major league career, and who knows, it might still be around, right? Like he might still make another start on a big league mound one day. And it could be for the Padres, it could be for somebody else. But, 13 seasons with the Rangers, the Dodgers, the Cubs, and the Padres, 115-93 record, a 3.65 ERA, 2,075 strikeouts, 208 combined victories between MLB and Japan's MPB are most all-time. This guy, even though a lot of his success, and he had good success here in San Diego as well, even though probably more of his success was with the Cubs and the Rangers, he's got to be like on my list of just all-time favorite Padres to watch because of who he is as a person, what he did for this organization, and, the sacrifices he makes for the betterment of this team and this org. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't just absolutely love a guy like Yu Darvish.
How's his son doing? Is he playing any other sports other than baseball at Cathedral? Or?
He graduated. He's going to be at UCS. He's at UCSD,
yes,
so he's going to be. He's going to be playing for the Tritons this year.
Yes,
but he stays in town, right? He wants to stay in San Diego. He wanted to be able to stay close to home to him, and right now it's San Diego. So we're going to see Shohei Darvish over at UCSD at Triton Ballpark with Eric Newman's boys. So we'll see that. We'll see that in the springtime later on when we do our college baseball updates. But gotta love a guy like Yu Darvish. All right, so that was our Padres update. We're going to preview the game in just a second. But what else is going on in the sports world? Let's get to our sports thread.
You know that group chat, the one that's always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news?
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk.
All right, Frank, what we got going on today in the sports world?
We'll start off with Live Golf and a report that came out earlier today. With its 2026 season now abruptly over and its future still uncertain, Live Golf informed its employees this morning that it is scaling back operations and terminating a significant number of positions in order to try to make Live 2.0, quote, a reality. While a spokesperson for Live did not specify how many people would be impacted, it is expected that a majority of the workforce will be affected. Back in July, employees were notified that this was a possibility. Given how the league reached the end of its funding, Live still does remain optimistic about its future. I don't see any other way that this is considered a death nail for the competition between Live Golf and the PGA Tour. Because even if Live Golf 2.0 does happen, I don't see how they keep any of their stars and keep this thing floating back to the PGA.
Yeah, if you're one of those big golfers that got the payday, you got the payday, and now it's time to start heading back to the PGA Tour. There's no reason to be on the Live Tour. At the beginning, again, as I mentioned before, I'm not going to get all like high and mighty for people that are making financial decisions that are drastically impacting their family and generational wealth. I think turning down that amount of money that's guaranteed would be foolish. And I know that most of us would do the exact same thing. Now, that being said, at this point, there's no benefit of being at Live Golf because you did what you wanted to accomplish. You were able to get better funding for the PGA, bigger purses, more guaranteed money, right? You got the better playing conditions for the PGA that you're fighting for, whatever. Now it's time to get back to the PGA. Let's eliminate Live Golf. And now with the Farmers, not the Farmers, I forget the new broadcast, but now with the tournament at Torrey Pines being a part of a bigger purse and being a more important tournament on the tour, let's get all the good golfers back. Let's make this thing a big deal again.
Absolutely, 100%. This came out during the show yesterday, and we did not talk about it as far as the whole update with Jed York. Apparently, Jed York used a pseudonym and responded multiple times to a fictitious ad for a prostitute prior to his arrest in Ohio over the weekend. In the report, officers with the Mahoning Valley Law Enforcement Task Force wrote that York identified himself as a man named Joe in response to the ad, which was posted by an undercover officer posting as a woman on a known prostitution website. York contacted the undercover officer twice Saturday with no response before that undercover officer responded to a third message sent by York on Sunday and offered to meet that morning. Again, we both kind of said it yesterday, brother, what are you doing in this case?
I have no idea. That entire situation is getting worse for Jed York and this big scandal that he has for $150. I mean, or $140. Sorry, I raised the price too high.
Don't make him think he's going to pay too much now.
No, gosh. I mean, he's got a rough going. I don't know why these guys continue to make just dumb decisions all the time. I mean, people like I get you kind of feel like you're a little bit indestructible, but dude, you have so much on the line. I mean, the risk reward doesn't make any sense. I mean, when you get to a certain maybe I just will never know this, and maybe super rich people know this, but like, do you get to a point where like you don't value, like risk doesn't mean anything to you anymore? I mean, I feel like you have more to risk at this point. The risk reward didn't make any sense in that story.
It's so dumb. Next up,
Number 3.
the Atlanta Falcons finally have both quarterbacks available in a true competition after Michael Penix Jr. was cleared for full practice following November ACL surgery. Penix can now participate in 11-on-11 team periods for the first time since the injury, putting him on equal footing with Tua Tagovailoa. We now know that Tua will be starting the final preseason game for Atlanta. Atlanta signed Tua Tagovailoa to a one-year deal worth $1.3 million this offseason, but Penix's recovery had prevented the competition from truly getting underway. The Falcons will begin preparing the two quarterbacks on Monday. Again, Tua's already named the starter. If Penix is fully healthy, should the Falcons immediately give him the starting job based on his potential, or should Tua be the get a legitimate opportunity to win the job?
That's more of a question for Adam Klug. The question actually is, how cooked are the Atlanta Falcons at quarterback? Like Lincoln Riley brisket cooked? How cooked are they? Extremely cooked, extremely overdone. Thermopen says
cremated,
285 internal temperature. It's a rough temperature for your brisket out there in Atlanta. Oh, man. There's things between a rock and a hard place with the Michael Penix situation and Tua Tagovailoa. I would imagine like Tua's probably the guy. I guess that's kind of be your best opportunity to win, but it's not a good situation to be in if you're Atlanta.
No, it's really not.
Adam's more excited for Georgia football wearing white helmets against Western Kentucky than he is about Atlanta Falcons football right now.
Texas has dismissed linebacker Anthony Smith from the program for conduct detrimental to the team, according to head coach Steve Sarkisian. Smith was expected to compete for a starting role after a strong 2025 season, which he recorded 60 tackles, 5.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. He also had 9 tackles and 2 interceptions in Texas's Citrus Bowl win over Michigan. His departure creates another challenge for a linebacker group already dealing with significant turnover, including the loss of Anthony Hill Jr. and Trey Moore to the NFL and Leona Lafayette to Colorado. Texas will now lean more heavily on transfers Rasheem Biles and Justin Cryer as new defensive coordinator Will Muschamp reshapes the unit. How much does losing a proven linebacker like this close to the season hurt Texas, and does this show just how important discipline and team culture have become in this era of college football roster turnover?
I wonder what the report is on the inside report of that story about conduct detrimental to the team. Anybody losing credentials down in Austin, Texas? It is. It's not great. When you practice with, especially at linebacker and a guy with experience, losing that guy right before the season starts is not good because he's the one that's going to have the green dot on the back of his helmet, which is now allowed in college athletics. So that's the guy that's going to get you set. That's the guy that kind of runs everything defensively. And when you lose that guy right before the season starts, you got to get somebody else up to speed. And they got a tough non-conference schedule early in the season, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer to get guys up to speed. So losing your quarterback type player on defense this close to the season, I mean, it's like losing a quarterback this close to the season. It usually does not end well. Now, Texas has a lot of depth. Texas is a very good football team. They're a very good football program. They're going to have stud athletes all over the place. It's just a matter of can they get them up to speed in time. At least it wasn't like 2 days before their first game, and they don't start until next week.
I think we can both do this together here. Hold on. Okay, goodbye.
Number 5.
The Yankees suffered another potential significant pitching injury over the weekend when former Padre pitcher Ryan Weathers left with left forearm discomfort. And was placed on the 15-day IL. Weathers has been one of New York's most reliable starters lately, posting a 3.56 ERA after a dominant stretch of 5 starts. With Aaron Judge, Max Fried, Giancarlo Stanton, Clark Schmidt, and others already dealing with injuries, New York's depth is really being tested at the worst possible time. The Yankees' rotation somehow remains one of the best in baseball, despite all the injuries. But how many more setbacks can they absorb before it finally starts to catch up?
I think it's just start catching up to them very quickly here. I don't really think the Yankees are that great of a baseball team this year. I think they're benefiting from the fact that the American League is awful. They're sitting there in a wild card spot, 74-57. I think a lot of that is because of the fact that they're playing, the American League. They haven't been. They have a winning record against the National League, I guess, the 20-16. But I think the big reason why they're in the position they're in right now is because the American League is not very good. I think it's going to catch up to them. I mean, they already don't have, not having Aaron Judge is huge for that team. I mean, offensively, they have been one of the worst offenses in Major League Baseball since Aaron Judge went down. That's a significant problem. The other problem they have, of course, is the starting pitching continue to rack up injuries. We've seen it with a lot of teams that you're not you can't survive this many injuries this late in the season. I don't think it's going to work out for the Yankees. You will see some fool's gold with them because of the fact that the league they play in is not very good in terms of like the American League in general, but I don't think they're going to be able to make it through the playoffs with the roster that they have.
No, I don't think so either. And he knew something was really wrong when it instantly happened. I mean, he immediately came out, called the trainer. I mean, and also now they're hearing this report also came out over the weekend for the Yankees. Giancarlo Stanton pulled his other hamstring while recovering from the hamstring that he pulled earlier this season. So he might not even be around at all now for the Yankees. And it's just how much longer can you sit there and try to rely on this guy who never, ever plays?
Right. Absolutely. So we'll see how that plays out. I mean, if you want to look at, we haven't had time to look at the American League standings, but I mean, I can't believe, I mean, not to say that they're in it because they're really not at 8 games out, but like the run that Kansas City has been on has been pretty remarkable. I mean, the Kansas City Royals have won 9 straight games. They're now 8 games out of a playoff spot, working their way up. I can't believe the every time I look at the American League standings, I look and it's just drastically different every single time. Like just like a week ago, the Tigers are right there knocking on the door. They're now 4.5 games out of a wild card spot because they had a 5-game losing streak. Minnesota was in a playoff spot. Then they played the Padres. They get dropped out. Baltimore was right there in a playoff spot too. They look like they turned things around. They're 2.5 games back now.
They beat the living tar out of St. Louis last night. It was 13-1 the last time I checked. Pete Alonso hit a 3-run home run. I wonder which stupid organization gave him up.
Oh, man. Here's the other one, too. Texas just keeps hanging around at like 1 game under 500. They have like just failed their way into the playoff spot more times than not. But how about the Guardians are back in a playoff spot? The Padres knocked them down. They've won 6 straight, the Guardians have. I mean, the American League race is just so much fun to watch. I mean, look at the Blue Jays. Blue Jays were struggling for most of the year. They're 3 games out of a playoff spot. I mean, the Mariners look like they were dead in the water after Julio Rodriguez threw the ball into the stands down 19 runs, and they lose the game 22-0 to the Milwaukee Brewers. Worst loss in their history.
And then lost 19-2 to the Cubs later on that week.
They've won 7 of the last 10. They're 3 games out of a wild card spot. I mean, the American League wild card race is exceptional. Exceptional. The National League race could have been put to bed if the Padres won on Monday and Tuesday. Because if we went over, if the Padres had won the last 2 games they could have easily have won, they would have been tied for the 5 spot. They would have been 3 games up on Arizona and then 6 games up on Miami, 7 up on St. Louis, and 8.5 up on the Pirates. Instead, Padres 2 games back of Philly, a game in front of Arizona, and 4 games in front of Miami. So we'll see what the Padres have in store today. If they win today, it's a winning homestand. They'll get ready to take on Tampa Bay. Randy Vasquez, Bubba Chandler, should be a good one. Sam Levitt's coming up next to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. For Frank Marchese, I'm Braden Surprenant. Signing off from the Loft. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow after the roundtable. See ya.